Hello, it's me, and I'm going to be introducing and doing a tutorial on a puzzle. But first I'm going to ask the question, what do all these three puzzles have in common? So here you see the Crazy Copter, one of my favorite puzzles in terms of playability and portability and whatnot. This is the Die and Gem 7, and this is the one that I'm going to be looking at today, which is the Crazy Comet by Oskar van Deventer. So what do all these have in common? What are the similarities here? Well, if you remember the tutorial I did and the introduction of the Die and Gem 7, I had said that this is really a shape modification of this. And that's what all these have in common. They're really the same puzzle. The Crazy Comet, which is what I'm going to be looking at today, and the Die and Gem 7 are all variants of the Crazy Copter. So before doing a tutorial on the puzzle, I like to just kind of introduce what kind of a puzzle it is, because there's not too many new things under the sun, except for modifications of puzzles that are already there. So just to show what I mean, as this can garner perspective, we're throwing this within here as well. So this is a edge turner, and just like this, if this is the top here, then these all represent edges. So this represents this move over here, and so too this top part over here that's kind of sunken, these also represent centers, and that represents this move. Well, let's get the green one, that might be easier to visualize with what I'm doing here. That represents this move over here. It's the same kind of thing, and here's why I say that. So here you can see the top of the cube. This is the face of it, and that's the same as this. The center here represents this piece and this piece. So this is the same piece here. This, and this all represent the centers. This also represents centers, but it's like a cross center. So this is really like a Crazy Copter cross cube, where you've got the centers here and here. The edges are actually this piece, and this piece. That's equivalent to the edges. The corners are these two pieces. That's this over here, and that's pretty much it. Well, it's exactly the same thing with this puzzle as well. And all these movements over here represent edge turning, and it can jumble just like the Crazy Copter as well. Just gotta put it in the right position. Yep, so there's my jumble position over there. Well, this is the same kind of a thing, where you have basically the centers. This, and this are the centers, just like this, and this. But just like these pieces here actually represent the centers as well, together these make up the centers. It's just this can turn independently, as you would see on a cross cube. It's a little catchy here. Well, so too with this. These represent the centers of a Crazy Copter, but not just these. These pieces here also represent the centers. So this, and this, these four over here, actually represent these over here, which are the same as these pieces here. They're completely equivalent. So in the Die and Gem 7, these pieces here represent these pieces here, which represent these. Now these pieces over here are also the center, but what's different is that this is a cross cube, basically a cross Crazy Copter. So that when you solve it, I actually solved these as the centers, and then I just did like sliding U techniques when I put this in, because it's easy to place the cross centers independently. Here it's a little different. These are not cross centers. They actually don't move, which means that I actually have two centers that have to be placed independently, or if not independently, then at least reduced. And just to look at the homologies here, if these four represent centers, and these represent centers as well, what represents corners, these guys represent the corners, and the edges is this single color thing over here. So if I turn this over here and turn this over here, what's happening is that these two are the centers. These two and these two represent centers. This here is the edge, and these two are the corners. But here's what's interesting. It is a shape mod of a Crazy Copter. However, it's not exactly the Crazy Copter. It's got a little bit extra, and it's not exactly a shape mod of the Die and Gem 7. Because if this is a Crazy Copter cross cube, This is not, but it's got two centers that have to be reduced, which means this is really like a master Crazy Copter. Well, a semi-master curvicopter. I say master curvicopter because just like a master curvicopter, you have two sets of centers that have to be reduced as you would in a master puzzle. However, you don't have edges that need to be reduced. So this isn't split, and of course corners are never split either. So because you don't have a full master version of it, it's just centers, then I call it a semi-master curvicopter. So to solve this is like solving a curvicopter cross cube. As a matter of fact, any modders out there, if you can take this and retro-mod it back into something that looks like a curvicopter, just with the cross components spinning independently, that would be pretty cool. This actually represents the same kind of a puzzle, but as a master curvicopter. So the only difference is we have to go through the process of reducing these centers before solving it as such. So, but once you get that in mind, that gives you some perspective in terms of what we're going to do to solve this puzzle. So, so this move here, as I said, is equivalent to this move here. And the thing about edge turners, because these all orbit the edge of this center piece here, but the thing about edge turners is you go by way of orbits. This red can only come into here, just like that. So too, this center here can only come up to here. Now the thing about curvicopters and any edge turners is they are jumblers, which means I can switch the orbits. If I turn this over here and then make this move, that's equivalent to turning it over here. You can see it's not a full turn, and then doing this move. So I'm able to actually take things out of orbits and do those jumble maneuvers. Now notice these jumble maneuvers caused a little bit of shape shifting, but really not that much. There are various techniques that I used, there's a single jumble maneuver where if I wanted to switch orbits, I'll move this up, move this down, double turn, move it back. So in that way I'm able to put this into a completely different orbit. Then I can turn this up like so. So basically what that did is it swapped these two. These are in the same orbits, they're just put in different places within the same orbit, but I swapped these orbits for each other. That's a single jumble maneuver. Well, I can do the same thing here. Notice to do that is I moved this up, and this down, and then I do this move over here, bang, and then I just move them back, like so. Now what that did is that switched these orbits over here. Now these got swapped too, but as you can see, they're in the correct orbit. They just swapped with each other, but I did swap these orbits over here as well. Get this back over here, and done. Okay, so that's a single jumble maneuver. To refresh memory with this, there's a double jumble maneuver. A single jumble maneuver was designed just to switch orbits, which is going to be important as I'm doing the solve. The double jumble maneuver was a way of rotating this upside down and swapping corners. And that is, you do a single jumble maneuver here, from this side, bring it down, and then you do it on the opposite side, like so. If I can get it to move, there we go. Turn, and turn, and then once I do that, I've got a double turn like thus. What that did is all these centers came back, this edge rotated, and these corners swapped with each other. I can do the same thing here, but I'm going to swap these corners. This edge will rotate, but you have equivalence of rotation, so you're not going to see anything here. So we're going to go up, down, just the same we did over here, double turn, down, up, and I go to the opposite side, up, down, double turn here, down, up, and then we double turn this. So as you can see, it didn't change anything, but it swapped these two corners. So it did exactly the same thing. I could show the same thing in this puzzle here, but I've already gone there. So that swaps these corners and rotates this, but again, because of the rotational equivalency, it doesn't really play a role in that. I can get this back. So I'm just doing this to review some of these concepts that I talked about with the approach to a curvicopter. And now with this puzzle, it's really the same thing. Up, down. So you see almost complete equivalencies between these two puzzles as I'm as I'm kind of identifying the similarities here. So that's in and up. Okay, so I've proven that this is really a shape mod of a curvy copter. However, it's a master curvy copter because you have two centers, just like you had here, but we could solve just these and place these later because it's more like a cross curvy copter. This one we can't. This one does not move independently. We have to do a degree of reduction. So now if you have this puzzle, given that concept, I invite you now to pause and try it yourself. But I will go through a tutorial and a technique on how I do it. Taking a look at what we need to do, what I'm going to do is just start scrambling it up now that you understand the strategy. To scramble it, what I'm first going to do is I'm just going to do 180-degree curvy copter scrambles. Now, oftentimes I find that when I'm doing tutorials on something that has this degree of complexity by being a transformation, is it's often useful to correlate this with the base puzzle that it's a transformation of. But as you can see, as I'm doing the rotations here, these centers are still together. But I'm mixing the corners up and all of that good stuff. So really, this is just like this. Okay, so this is one part of the scramble. Now the next is going to be, what I like to do next is I like to start taking things out of orbits. So what that means is I'm going to go up, down, across, bang. So I just swap these two orbits. What this does is this increases the complexity of the puzzle. And bang. Now that's a single jumble. If I double jumbled it, it doesn't take anything out of orbits. All it does is it rotates corners and also rotates this. So I'm going to do that a couple more times here. Now if I wanted to swap these two, I would just simply move it to the side and move it to the side. That'll cause these two orbits to swap. Actually, you know, I just swapped two of the same color. That wasn't really very useful. And bang. Okay, so I'm just gonna, having done that by a pretty good amount, swap this over here. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing here. So that's a single jumble maneuver, which means that this is gonna come up and this one across from it is gonna come down. Now notice something, although I scrambled it, all these silver ones are still the same. And that just means that centers are in center positions. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to take them out of the position. So this will come up, this will come down. I'm now going to swap these two and bring it back up. Now notice when I did that, I didn't really take any centers out of position. All I did is I swapped orbits, which means if I tried to solve this, this will appear to be upside down. It's not really a parity per se, it's more just an expected effect with that. So I took these two out of their orbits, which will make this impossible to solve with just 180-degree turns. I'm just going to randomly do more. So down, up, swap these two orbits, up, down. Now this is how I recommend scrambling this puzzle. If you want to optimize its difficulty, up, down, and turn, down, up. And maybe we'll do one more. Turn, turn, do one of these. Okay. Okay, so I would do those single jumble maneuvers when scrambling this puzzle just to enhance the difficulty. Okay, now notice when I did that, these are still in the right position, which means it's not shape-shifted, just like this isn't. Then you just go for the shape-shifting, which means I'm going to take this up here and move this over to here. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking a center and I'm not going to move it into corner position. So that's now in a corner position. And if I move this back down like so, well, if I keep this here, like thus, I now have a corner in a center position. So that's really what all that entails. So continue and do your shape shifting, make it real confusing. So the equivalent to this, now there's an actual extra way of doing this. If I take this over here, I'm now going to take this edge. Now these rather center, the centers and corners look the same. The only difference is that this has the silver here. Just remember that. I'm going to move this over here. Now I'm going to do my swap, and when I go like this and bring it back down, although it doesn't look shape-shifted, it's not shape-shifted, but it really is when it's equivalent to this, because this is in a corner position, but it's actually a center. This is in a center position, but it's actually a corner. So it actually looks like these, but it's just not shape-shifted yet. So this particular kind of jumbling does not cause shape-shifting, which is why it makes it just a little bit easier, but I'm going to continue to do that. Move this over here, turn, move it down. I'm just moving as many silver ones as I can out. Once I've moved a couple, I'm going to do something. Now that I've done that, I'm going to continue to do 180-degree turns, because now I can separate. I'm not going to be separating these centers out. These two collectively had always been joined, but now when I go like this, I'm separating centers out. I am making it so that they are no longer reduced. And I'm going to keep doing that. So I'm dissecting this down so that I can enhance the difficulty. And to be honest with you, it's not that it makes it so much more difficult. It just makes it more time consuming, which is fine. It's not a marathon. We got these puzzles for the challenge. But anyway, so I'm going through what I think is a proper way to scramble it. Because what I want to do is I want to take away the reduction here. Whoop. So do this. Notice I brought this out here, so I'm going to double turn. These are tucked into here, so I'm just going to jumble it away. Move this here, double turn, move it down. That puts this center in a corner position. Double turn that over there. Okay, that's not bad. So you can see a lot of these center areas don't have actual center pieces. They have corner pieces. Actually, these are centers. They're just rotated wrong, so they're rotated completely off. But this is a corner, this is a corner, this is a unreduced center, this is an unreduced and rotated incorrectly center because the silver is over here. Now we can actually shape shift this puzzle, so once you think you've done your, you've taken away the center reduction, now I'm going to do shape shifting, straight shape shifting, putting it here, and I'm just going to make random moves. I'm just going in small increments. Now when it comes to jumbling, I just do that for the sake of, you know, full scramble ability. And I just keep making these little semi-moves until I find myself blocked off and unable to really make any other type of move. Okay, so are we good? I think we can do a little bit more stuff like this. Okay, so we're fairly well locked up here. Not too many other movements we can do. Maybe over here. Okay, not bad. So there you have it, a completely scrambled Crazy Comet. And we'll go through the solve, and we'll also do it in parallel with the curvy copter, just so that you can understand by way of perspective.